Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hilarium podcast, the podcast where high schoolers, such as me and my friend Eddie here,
Hey guys.
talk about different things that we feel are important. Today, we're going to be talking about our wacky dreams. Now, before we get into that, Eddie, how was your weekend?
It was good. So Halloween was this past weekend or week or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And so basically me and my friends, we missed the trick-or-treating because we were lame.
Yeah.
And so basically we didn't get there till like 6 or so. And so we went to get dinner at this like bar/restaurant area in the plaza called the Alley Cantina.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
food's
place. Yeah, they
good
got some
there.
good stuff.
And so we also played a game of pool because that was fun.
Did you destroy them like you tend to do?
Yeah.
Good. That makes me happy. Yeah, I also miss the trick-or-treating. Here in Taos, New Mexico, there's, like, unlike traditional trick-or-treating, there's no neighborhoods or anything where you can just go from house to house and ask for candy. We all go to
Yeah.
the plaza, the main part of town.
And there was nothing in Bent Street or
Nope,
the plaza.
nothing,
There was
zero.
nothing. And
By the time we got there, because we, like I said before this podcast, we waited at McDonald's for like an hour and a half to 2 hours for 20 nuggets and a large fry and a Frappuccino. And
we just ordered in I just ordered in pizza for us.
that was smart, because we were all sitting there, and by the time we got out, it was dark, and we got there, and we were like, where is everybody? Because it was like 7 o'clock, and nobody was...
And then I
Like,
saw
no one
you.
was there.
And then I saw you guys walking in.
Yeah, but we didn't say hi because I didn't know you were there. And then we saw...
I yelled to you guys.
Didn't hear, man. Too many like freaking squeals of my friends in my ears. My friends are too loud. But we're gonna be talking about our wacky dreams today, and I'm known throughout our friend group for having the most detailed dreams ever. Like, for some reason, I have this thing. I wouldn't consider it lucid dreaming, because, you know, lucid dreaming is allowing you to control your dreams when they happen. But I'll think about something beforehand. I'll think like, oh man, today I'm going to dream up a scenario where I'm a superhero. And then I'll go to sleep and I'll have the most vivid and detailed dream about me being a superhero. And the other night I actually did that. I had a dream where I was, what's it called? I was a superhero, but my parents died. My mom hired a hitman to kill my dad, and then my mom went to jail, so she was dead to me. And so my brothers and stuff, my aunts and uncles all were like, we blame you for what happened to our brother, and we don't want anything to do with you. So I ended up going to the Himalayas and training with some monks, where I unlocked a secret power of mine where I could manipulate energy, matter, and atoms throughout the... it was sort of like, you ever seen the show Full Metal Alchemist? Yeah. Yeah, it was like the law of equivalent exchange, where I would like create a spear out of thin air, but like under me there would be no ground because like I used that ground. And so I was just, I trained and blah, blah, blah. And then I went back, and when I was in high school, back when I came back to New York, which it was, obviously it was based in New York because that's where everything is. I was sitting there, and I was like, oh, I'm back, you guys. And I saw all my friends who, like, I hadn't seen. So, like, obviously, like, all my friends in real life were just there. And,
Just there.
yeah, they were just there, and they were all talking, like, normal stuff. And I was sitting there, and I took aside the two most, like, random people. I took aside Steven, and I took away Fernando, and then Nick. And so I got them, and I was like, you guys, I got some secrets to tell you. I'm a superhero. And he was like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. And then Fernando was like, I'll train you in fighting. And then Nick was like, I'll be your guy in the chair. I'm like the hacker. And then Steven was like, I'm here for moral support. And so from that, like, I was like fighting. And I got up to a part where, like, I was in high school, and they were like, oh, you trained with the Himalayas. Can you do a backflip? I was like, well, no, of course I can do a backflip. And I just did a flat backflip. And then they were like, oh, can you do a double? And I was like, I need to get to higher ground. And I went outside and stood on a table and did a double backflip. And a cheerleader saw me, and she came up and she was like, hey, I saw that. You want to join the cheer team? And I was like, heck yeah, I want to join the cheer team. What do I look like? So I joined the cheer team, and in the locker room, all the cheerleaders' boyfriends came up, and they were like, hey, we don't like that you're here, and blah, blah, blah. They're all football players. And I set up a camera, and I was like, this is for evidence that this is self-defense. And I, like, beat the shit out of them, basically. And it was just the most, like, detailed garbage I'd ever seen in my life.
It went from training in the Himalayas
to beating the shit out of innocent teenagers.
To beating the shit out of
Yep.
cheerleaders' boyfriends.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it went. And then, like, I got up to another part where I was just sitting there, and I was like, I got a call, and I was like, oh, there's a bank robbery on the other side of town. And I started, like, using my parkour skills.
Nick, your guy in the chair,
called me. And I started doing my parkour skills, and I started, like, jumping from building to building. Then all of a sudden, this random chick came out and, like, slashed a sword, and I, like, dodged it all crazy, and I stood up, and I looked at her, and I was like, Nick, get me facial recognition on this chick. And he was like, oh, she's nobody. She's a ghost. And I was like, oh, awesome. So I started fighting her. She broke so many of my spears that I had to whip out my ultimate move, which was, like, getting a part of my suit, which happened to be carbon fiber, and creating a sword and like fighting. Obviously, had a 20-minute fight scene, and then I stood up and I knocked her down and I ripped her her sleeve off because she was like wearing a ninja outfit, and there was a tattoo, and the tattoo was for the assassins, not the assassins, the League of Assassins. That's right. It was the League of Assassins, and I was like, whoa. And I was like, oh my god, they're trying to get me after what they did in the Himalayas. And then there was a flashback where I was like, I was chilling, I was like with my monks meditating. Then all of a sudden there were gunshots, and like the League of Assassins came and tried to wipe us out and blah blah blah, and I'm the only one that escaped. I don't know. It was a whack dream. I have so many more like that. You know, I don't know. What can I say? I have detailed dreams.
What was that one where it was like this? We were at the ski valley and we were skiing. And
oh my god, I forgot about that one. Oh my god. Okay. So back last year, this happened like a year ago. I also have a tendency to remember my dreams from like the most memorable ones. So what happened was we were all sitting down. It was me, you, Steven, Nick, Fernando. Wait, no, not Fernando. It was Raiden, Ryder, and we were all sitting down. And this girl, like on the table across from us, there was a girl, where there were a bunch of girls, and they were all like, oh, look at those guys. They're losers. I bet they can't snowboard for garbage. And we were sitting there, and their boyfriend came up, who was like the Hulk, like a big-ass bodybuilder, and he slammed on the table, and they're like, what are you talking about, baby? And she was like, those guys over there, we don't like them. Go kick the shit out of them. And he walked up, and he looked at us, and he slammed on our table, and I was like, hey, man, we're trying to enjoy a nice meal here. And he's like, I don't care what you're doing. He swipes away my food, and I stand up, and I summon a big anime sword out of nowhere that's, like, double my height. And I started, like fighting him, and then Ryder and, like, Raiden got up and both summoned their own wacky weapons, and they started fighting. And then you just, like, picked up the table and broke it in half and, like, bashed it over his head, and we chopped him to smithereens, and he was on the ground, like, in a puddle, basically, and we made him into a nice puree. And the girls got up, and they were like, what? Like, how did that happen? And we walked over, and I stabbed my giant anime sword through their table, and I was like, next time, find us a worthy opponent. And I looked at her, and I was like, baby, and walked away, and we just enjoyed a nice meal from there. That dream is wacky, man. That's a wacky dream I had. You ever have any wacky dreams, Eddie?
So, just recently I had a dream where it was almost like a VR feeling. But it was real life, like it was real.
Yeah.
So basically, in this dream, I was like a really good, like, with a bow and arrow and sword. And so I could shoot like 8 arrows and hit 8 different people.
What's up with these combat dreams? Like,
yeah.
Like, their own, like, every single dream I have is revolved around some form of combat.
Well, the reason I had that one was because recently I watched the Robin Hood movie.
Oh, yeah, that movie that came out a couple years ago.
And so I was, like, high-speed firing, like, 2 arrows at a time.
I get it,
And then people were just staring at me, and I was like, hey, watch this. And I was just rapid-firing.
That's kind of cool.
And then I had another dream where I was like running on buildings and doing like flips and stuff with a bunch of different people. You were there, Raiden,
dude, parkour
River, Ryder.
dreams, man. I've had a couple dreams like that. A lot of my dreams are revolved around combat, but not all of them. I remember once, this was like years ago though, I had a dream that I was sponsored by Red Bull. I was a sponsored free runner, and free running is one of the most dangerous, like, out of them all. I would never be a free runner, and that was the wrong choice.
Why?
Nah, it's all right. I was a free runner, and we were just like, we were going through like Barcelona or something stupid.
Barcelona.
Yeah, I don't know why, I don't know how, and we were going through, and I was like coming through, and I like did a flip, but I flipped, and I didn't make the jump that I was trying to get because it was like a building, and then another building, and it was like 20-foot gap, and I didn't make it, and I started falling, but then I landed superhero pose, and I just kept going, and it just that entire dream was just me and like nobody else parkouring through the freaking world. That was a whack dream.
The entire Barcelona.
Right? It was like insane. They're like, I watched some free runners that are on Red Bull, and they're insane. They're crazy. Yeah. I would never, like, the things I would never do. I would never be a backcountry snowboarder / skier because so much avalanche danger. Then I would never be a free runner, and I wouldn't be a motocross like expert, because motorcycles and stuff like that, I could ride them, and I ride them often, but they scare me. Because they're hard to control, Because midair, you gotta like switch gears, and I don't know, it's whack.
What is the scariest dream you have had that you can remember?
Eddie, I think you know this one. My scariest dream isn't even scary. And it wasn't like, I don't know why it happened, but it was me, and I was chilling, and I was like, I got out of a car, I closed the door, I opened up a new car, got in, and parked it. Same thing, over and over again. It was me parking cars every single day, all the time. I don't know what came out, Eddie. What is this?
It's like a game where it's like a fighting game, but it combines
I know what you're talking
animes.
About. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, I was parking cars over and over again. That was the entire dream, and I woke up and I was like sweating and shaking. I was like, I don't want to park cars anymore. And so I laid back down, and I was like, I just won't think about it. Let's pretend I'm in high school. And I started like laying down, and I started in a high school, and I was like popular, and I was going by, and I was like finger guns at people, giving people high fives, and I got into my car, and I drove away. I parked it, I got out, got into another car, and parked it, and I kept going and going over and over again, kept parking cars. And it just scared the crap out of me. I woke up like 7 times just shaking out of my mind because I was scared of parking cars. I don't know why. Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
Yes, I have. Oh my god, it scared me so many times because basically I'd be Have you ever had those feelings where like you sleep with your face down in a pillow and then you wake up and you're sort of like half awake, half asleep, but you're like suffocating and you can't like lift your body because you're still asleep?
I've never experienced that.
So basically, I sleep on my back with my head facing up because if I sleep with my head in the pillow, I'll wake up and my body will still be asleep, but I'll still be awake, and I'm suffocating because my face is in the pillow. But since I'm still asleep, I can't lift myself, so basically I have to wake up myself or I'll suffocate.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah, because like people always talk about it, and they're like, sleep paralysis. That's a thing that happens. It's so scary. I've only done it a couple times in my life. But me, I've never like actually gone through it. I don't know what it is. Like, I was laying there, and I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, what the hell is sleep paralysis? Like, because like some people say they see demons in their corners when it happens, a sleep paralysis demon. And I'm like, I can't understand like what like makes you think of that stuff, but I don't know. Sleep paralysis never occurred to me, never happened to me, but I did read a cool dream fact. Have you ever heard of the fact that every single person in your dream, every creature, every person, every animal is something that you've seen in your life or something that you've contrived of seeing many different things? Because a lot of people are like, that can't be true, but think about it. Like, if you how can you like you can't imagine something without having like seen the different parts of it at least somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can come up with a fictional monster, but the basis of that monster is gonna be from somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, maybe if you're consciously trying, and you're thinking about it, then maybe you could create something original, but it's still gonna be somewhat based off of something else, you know? Mm-hmm. So, another fact that I heard was no matter how much we use our phones in real life, you know, no matter what kind we have, I've at least me and some of my friends never ever seen it in one of my dreams. Have you? Is that something you've done?
Yeah. So
really?
Yeah.
I've never seen my phone in my dream ever. I've never seen a TV.
You haven't?
I've never seen a computer. I've never seen. It's always like based around me, and that's
basically, when I was in a dream, I was having like a horror dream because just recently I had like watched The Shining, but it wasn't like scary.
Yeah.
And so I watched it, but I still had a nightmare about it.
Yeah.
And so basically, I was running around in the maze, and I was like, "Oh, I can't see anything," and I don't know where I am. Maybe I should pull out a map, and I pull out my phone and look up a map.
Yeah.
And so I know like how to use it, and it was one of those dreams where I can actually control it.
Yeah.
And
like
so
lucid, yeah.
so I could. It was actually me like trying to figure out how to survive, and that's why it was so scary.
That's like scary, man.
And so basically, I looked up a map and I was like, okay, I need to go here.
It was like a video game, like sort of. What's one that I'm trying to think of? Like, you ever play Outlast?
Yes, I have.
It's like you're trying to sneak around, taking videos and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That concept is scary to me.
It really is.
We'll be back in a sec, folks. We're having some technical difficulties here, but I believe we're doing okay.
Yeah,
it's exceptional. Sorry about that, folks, but we're back now. Hopefully, it's a seamless transition for you guys. However, what we were talking about, we were talking about your dream where you had a map in The Shining, and all that stuff.
Basically, I was walking around the maze.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I turn a right, and he's just there charging at me with an axe.
Yeah.
But he's not like the skinny like dad, but he's like the big like
buff kind of.
Yeah, he's like a big like charger type. Mm-hmm. And so basically, he's running at me, and then I like jump to the right, thinking that I need to get out of the way. So I jump to the right, and I look left, and he stops and just turns. Of course, he stops. He just turns slowly and stares at me with like the scary
murderous
eyes.
Intent. Yeah.
And so I start running, and he's chasing after me, and I'm like quickly looking at my map, but it's like blurry now.
Yeah.
So I'm just blindly turning directions.
I've noticed that in my dreams, they're always like contrived around other people. I've never had a dream where it was just me, because that thought to me is terrifying. You ever played I've been playing Doom lately. You ever played Doom?
Yes, I have.
It's a very fun game.
The game, instead of you being trapped in a room with demons, the demons are trapped in a room with you.
You don't know how right you are. But yeah, I've been playing that game. Please shame me. I know it's old, but it's still awesome.
Oh, I play it still.
Yeah, it's so fun. But yeah, I was playing that, and I was thinking to myself, because I was like scared and I didn't know why, and then I was like, oh, I know why. It's because I'm alone, and I hate that feeling. I hate games where I'm alone. Of just being alone? Yeah, that's why I hate like solo Fortnite so much, because it's like you never know when you're going to run into something. And
that's one of the reasons I don't play the old White Noise or whatever it's called, the horror game.
Oh,
because
yeah.
basically you can get left behind easily, and basically it gets really scary when you get left behind by your friends.
Dude, I don't know, man. Because I just never liked that.
It's an online horror game that's actually really fun. So basically, I played it on the Xbox 360 at the time. Mm-hmm. So basically, I was alone in it the entire time. And basically, when you're alone, you start going crazy, and your character starts like speaking to himself, and the screen goes fuzzy and stuff.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think, oh man, now that I think about it, I've had some scary dreams as well. I remember, you ever heard of a skinwalker?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, okay. Well, so this was such a weird dream that I had a couple years ago. It was a fever dream. You ever have a fever dream?
Yes, I have.
They're terrifying. I was laying down, and I woke up in this like big wooden mansion, and I walked out, and there was a party going on. And I was like, oh, cool. There's a party. And then all of a sudden, like, I blinked and I was teleported away from the party. And it started out awesome because it was like, oh, here's a bike you have to bike down to the party again. And I was like, oh, sick nasty. You just bike down. And it was a trail. It was fun. I was having a good time in my dream. And I got to the party. But what I didn't realize was there was a sheep, or like a sheep with air quotations. It was like, I looked at it, and it was like running alongside me. I was like, oh, whatever. It's just a sheep. And so I was going by, and because apparently, I don't know if this is like entirely true. I don't know much about the skinwalker myth, but apparently they can like shapeshift. But I looked at it, and I was like, oh, it's just a sheep running by me. And I got to the party, and we were all chilling, and I looked outside, and there was just this big field, and there were a bunch of sheep, but one of them was like different than the others. One of them had red eyes and red, red eyes and red fur, or not fur, wool, whatever it's called. And it was like, I was sitting there, and I looked at it, and I was like, maybe it was just died, and then like it stood up, and it was just a sheep standing, and I was like, oh my god. And then it shape-shifted into the actual skinwalker form, and it started chasing me. It was like, oh my god, everybody, we have to get out of here. And like, no, everyone was like, they just live around here, it's okay. And I was like, no, it's charging. And they're like, it's okay. But there were like 5 guys that were like, oh, you're right, we gotta go right now, let's leave. And so we got into a truck, and we put my bike in there, and we drove away with that thing chasing us. And there was another one.
So everyone who actually stayed were okay?
Yeah, everyone who stayed was okay. At least I hope. I don't know. But I was like running, and I was like, oh my god, that thing is scary. And we hit a bump, and my bike flew out. And we were like, oh no, my bike. But it's like, wait, it's all right. We got to go. And so we were going, but then like it stopped, and it looked at the bike, and then it got on and started like pedaling really fast. And I looked at it, I was like, oh no, it's my bike. It's killing me. Oh no. And so it started pedaling after us. And I remember the third person shot. It was like me, and we were all screaming, and then just a skinwalker pedaling really fast. And I don't know, man, that dream terrified me.
Yeah.
I've had some whack dreams, but like that one was scary.
So basically, I had a dream where it was a horror dream, and this was like 5 years ago or so, and I was at Kit Carson Park, and you know that tunnel slide?
Yeah.
It started with me like playing in the park and all sorts of stuff, and all of a sudden I hear like this big stomping.
Yeah.
And so it's like this big like buff guy, and he has like goat legs or something. And so basically he starts like, he calls all the kids over and says, okay, you're gonna be in this group and you're gonna be in this group, and he names like the group's fruits or something. So I was like in a group that was like peaches or something.
Peach group, that's what we're talking about.
So basically then we were like told to do this and that, and you were focused on that and that. And so basically it was really like tough, and we were just stuck in the park. And so basically, to try and get away, I hid in the slide.
Oh no, that's a bad hiding spot.
Yeah, I no, like in the tube slide, like I was inside it. And so basically, the guy like starts walking around counting everyone. I was like, did I miss something? And he starts yelling, and then he realizes who's missing, and he starts yelling my name.
Oh, man.
And then he's looking everywhere, and so basically I'm like, I gotta go. So I climbed up the side, ran away, and my friend like grabs me and's like, I found him. And he's like, and then
barbaric.
Yeah, so the guy starts slowly walking over, and I realize now that he has like this weird like goat face almost, with like sharp teeth, and
like a chupacabra.
It was almost like Krampus, sort of.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a terrifying dream.
So basically, I started running, and he all of a sudden, like, teleports almost in front of me. And so I started running the other way, and he teleports back, and then he grabs me and just throws me.
Yeah. I had a dream. Well, this wasn't a dream, but I had a dream recently that reminded me of this story that I saw on Reddit. Or, not I saw, but Steven saw and then told me. And the dream was, or not the dream, the Reddit post said, he was on a speed dating. He was on like speed dating, 60-second speed dating, and he saw a girl that he really liked, and she liked him, and he was like, "Hey, let's get out of here." And so they were at a McDonald's, and he's like, "You know what I want to do right now?" Because it was like really late at night. It was like 1 a.m, and he's like, "I want to go for a midnight hike." And so they went to the mountains, and they went for a hike. And like halfway up the mountain, he like got a weird feeling, and they both started to get really scared, and like they were like, we better get out of here. And so they were walking down, and the guy accidentally kicked something, and he fell down and he kicked it again, and he's like, what is this? And he was like, oh, whatever, let's leave. And a couple of years later, after they had broken up, he was sitting there and he saw an interview with one of the most famous serial killers of all time. I forget his name, but he had like 42 victims, I think. He was very famous, and he was sitting there and they were interviewing him all chained up, and he was like, what's like your craziest murder story? Like, what's something that happened that was unexpected, or, you know, something like that? And he was like, oh man, I'm never going to forget this one. I was it was the middle of the night. I had just killed somebody in the mountains who was going for a midnight hike, and this couple came by, and I had to hide in the trees. And this guy came up and literally kicked the body that I had just killed, and he kicked it again. And he was like, "All right, let's go." And that guy, if he would have like seen me, I would have had to kill them both. And so he was sitting there, and I don't know, that terrified me, because when Steven told me this, we were riding our bikes around town at 4 a.m, and so it was still dark. But he told me this, and I was like, "Oh my God, really?" And then the guy watching the interview was like, "I was like 5 feet from the most famous serial killer of all time," and I forget his name. Let me see if I can look him up. But I think his name was like Michael something. I don't remember. Well, let me look here.
That would be scary. I mean,
famous serial killers. It might have been Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if that's right. I'd have to ask Steven, but I don't know. That terrified me. And then that night when when I went home, I was like laying in bed and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I do not ever want to ever have a dream like that, or like that occur to me, because I don't get that scared when it comes to like horror movies based on like fake stuff. I get scared on a horror movie that can occur in real life, like a serial killer, or like people getting killed by like different things, and then just kind of like creepy stuff in general. Like I was thinking about that Joker theory last night. Did I tell this on the podcast? I don't think I did, but I was thinking about a Joker theory that I might explain a little bit. Where the theory goes that he was...
just beware, this contains...
Oh, yeah, a lot of spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you really want to, I would recommend either clicking off or fast-forwarding, because this contains so many spoilers. But throughout the movie... Man, Eddie, you're really bad at this matching game. What was I saying? Yeah, so the Joker theory goes that the entire movie was based inside Arthur's head. And there's like some evidence to prove this, but like not a whole lot. That's why a lot of people are like calling this theory bogus. But like I thought it was interesting because it's all in his head, because the time never changes throughout the entire movie. Every single clock that's shown in the entire movie is always 11:11. And then in the last scene, he's giggling to himself and he says, "Huh, you wouldn't get the joke," or like you wouldn't get it, because she asks what he's talking about, and he's in that insane asylum, and you know he starts singing and stuff. But I think what might have happened is the entire story was inside his head, because the relationship he had with his neighbor was completely imaginary. And on one of the dates, the part that really sparked his his movement or like his transition into the Joker was him looking at the newspaper, making the face of the clown on the newspaper, turning around and seeing a guy in a cab with a clown mask on. But since that was on a date with a girl that he was imagining, you know, then there's like a chance that date, like, it never happened. So he never actually saw anybody, and he never so that means that every motivation he had for becoming the Joker throughout the movie was just in his head. And I was thinking about that last night, because that's kind of a creepy theory, you know, when you think about it. Like, oh man, like the Joker nothing actually like happened to him.
In his head.
Yeah, he went crazy. Like, he became the Joker in his mind rather than becoming the Joker due to events.
Yeah.
So I was like thinking about that. I was like, and I looked around and I was like, that's terrifying. That's a terrifying thought, you know, because I hate like mind games, you know.
I think that pretty much anyone could go crazy.
Yeah. Because like I hate. You ever see those like psychological thriller, or not thriller games, horror games?
Yeah. Like
a Doki Doki Literature Club. That scared me. That game is so scary to me, because I can't imagine, like, I don't know, that was just terrifying. Like the part where, because I saw Jacksepticeye's gameplay, and he started going for that quiet girl, the one that collects knives. I forget her name, but and halfway through, she was like sitting there, and she's like, I still have that pen you gave me, Jack. And then he's like, oh, okay. And she's like, and starts stabbing herself with a pen. Like, gee, like, I was like, whoa, that's a big turn from the, like, it was like, I don't know, man, that game scared me. I hate psychological thrillers or horror games like that, which sucks because Markiplier has been playing a lot of those lately. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. Dreams, bro. It's crazy. Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying. That actually also reminds me of a dream I had 2 nights ago. This one is like funny, but it's also like scary. At least it was to me. Like I woke up shaking. What happened was I was there. I was like I think, how does it start? I was in prison, and I had been at like Hunan's before, and I got captured by this rich guy.
The place of all beginnings.
Yeah, Hunan's, a Chinese restaurant here in Taos. I was sitting there, and it was set up like a lunch table, like lunch cafeteria tables. Yeah. And this rich guy was like, I want the place that you're sitting. And I was like, but this is my place. And he took me, and he took, just me. It was just me. He took me, and I escaped. But then I like looked around, and there was the corn festival, and I looked around, and there was like people like celebrating, having a good time, and it like showed a bird's eye view, and it was just a big yellow thing that spread out for miles, and it was just corn. It was like corn everywhere, and I was like, no, not corn. And I started running from that guy, dodging people, corn festival, and I looked at this stand that was in front of me. And I looked at it, and it was this girl who wasn't wearing corn. She was wearing a purple cat mask and a black suit. And the black suit had, like, purple, like, freaking jewels all over it and stuff. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird to be, like, dressed as a cat at a corn festival. And she grabs one of the corn people and cuts off the toe and cuts off the index finger and then throws it into a bucket. And over and over again, toe, finger, chop, chop, chop. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so scary. And I turned around, and there she was, toe, finger. And I was like, oh, that's also scary. So I, like, no matter where I turned, no matter where I ran, there was always that girl, the same stand, same purple cat mask, toe, finger.
Maybe she was only grabbing the people with corn.
Yeah, perhaps, but even so, that was still terrifying because they were like cutting off the toe, cutting off the finger, and then throwing the person in like a barrel. So it was like toe, finger, barrel, toe, finger, barrel, toe, finger, barrel, And I was like, oh my God, that's scary, And if you can't really get a sense of the cat mask she was wearing, what's that skin called that's like leveling up? It's like electric, pink. It's like a white mask, a pink, black, and gold cloak. That was from like season 4, I think. What's it called?
Drift.
Yeah, Drift, exactly. Yeah. It was the Drift mask, but like purple and with less like ears, It was so terrifying.
What do you call it? It's a it'll come to me.
Yeah, but that dream scared me. Like I said, I can't I'm fine with watching
Kitsune mask. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Kitsune mask.
Exactly. So I was like watching that, and it was scary, and I didn't like it, and so I woke up like I know that parking car dream was very scary, and I woke up a lot of times, but this time I woke up and I was like sweating, and I was like scared out of my mind, and I looked around and I didn't see a cat lady with a freaking toe finger, and I like looked around and I was like, oh, and it wasn't like with a knife either, it was with like a vegetable peeler, so she could be accurate. Toe, finger.
Why a vegetable peeler?
Hey, man, my dreams are wacky. It was terrifying. It was so scary.
Were the people, like, in pain when they got... Like...
Yeah, they were screaming. They were, like, screaming loud. And I also have... this is a fear that a lot of people have. It's not necessarily a fear for me, and I wouldn't say, like, a lot of people, but, like, I've heard some people, it's a sound that gradually gets louder. Uh-huh. It's, like, a thin, really, like... a sound that gets louder and louder and louder and then dim again. And it goes louder and louder and louder and then dim again. And I had a dream where I was riding a bike at Baca Park. And I was riding my bike around the basketball court. And, I was just having a good time. And then all of a sudden, this guy came up and started screaming at a continuous tone. And I would get closer and it'd go, ah. And it scared me like that. It was like I don't know why it scared me so much, but the tone of like getting louder and then dimmer has been like not a fear, but like something I've been genuinely like freaked out by for a long time. And I wouldn't say like I get like terrified when I hear a sound that gets louder and then so dimmer. But
with me, I will have night terrors basically. So basically, sometimes when I'm like half awake, half asleep, I'll see figures like in the shadow almost.
Yeah.
And then also, so that is horrifying. And then also when I'm sleeping, sometimes I'll get these dreams where I'm basically like flying and something gets really big, then really small.
Oh, yeah. That was also kind of like when the tone got bigger, the guy got bigger. Forgot to mention that. But I don't know. That stuff is always like ever since then, it's kind of been not a fear, but like something that freaked me out. I don't know why. It's just always like been like that. And I've heard some other like the YouTuber, it was either Aaron Hansen or Dan Avedon from Game Grumps. He was like, I have a fear of noises that get louder and then dimmer and then louder and a continuous pitch. And I don't know. I guess I kind of have that fear too. What would you say is like your biggest realistic fear? Like something that could happen. It's not likely, but it could happen.
When I'm skiing, I think it's when we're on the ski lift and I feel like the ski lift's just gonna fall.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're here with our good friend Cersei Tostada. She is going to be telling us about one of the wacky dreams she had, because apparently she has some wacky dreams as well. I thought I was the wacky one, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows, really? Here she is, baby.
Okay, so if you don't know me, I really just despise the fruit cantaloupe. And I had a dream one time where I was in a room made entirely out of cantaloupe, and there was a bomb rigged inside the room, and the only way I would survive is if I ate my way out of the room.
Oh my God.
I couldn't like claw my way out. I just had to eat all the cantaloupe. And I hate cantaloupe so much I died.
Why do you hate cantaloupe so much is my question.
It's just it tastes like, Febreze to me. It tastes like Febreze to me.
You ever actually tried tasting Febreze?
I have, and it tastes like cantaloupe.
It's pretty bad. It tastes like cantaloupe. What kind of like soap tastes like bacon?
That's almost like how cilantro tastes like soap to people.
Oh yeah, and they're like, "What kind of soap you using, man?" Cilantro.
I also have like a sleepwalking thing where I sleepwalk a lot sometimes. And one time I was in the car with my grandmother, and she's a terrible driver, and I had a nightmare that we were crashing. And we were on a highway, and I had a nightmare that we like went off the side of the road, and we were hurtling down a mountain. And I remember in the dream thinking the only way you're going to survive is if you jump out of the car. And I have a sleepwalking thing, as previously mentioned.
Jump?
I opened the door, and I was like unbuckling my seatbelt when my grandmother just like kind of slapped me awake.
Slapped you awake because you were about to like jump out the car.
I was about to jump out of the car.
Oh my God,
onto a highway.
That's pretty. I want to hear your reaction on my wacky dream. I had a dream 2 nights ago that I was at Hunan's. And it was set up like a cafeteria, and a rich guy came up and said, "I want your seat." And I said, "No, this is my seat." So he took me to prison, and I escaped from the prison, and I walked out, and it was the corn festival. And I looked around, and everyone was like, dancing, doing that Joker dance. And I was chilling, and I looked behind, and they were chasing me, so I had to run. And I ran into this lady with a stand, and she had a cat mask on, purple cat mask, and she started chopping off the toe and index finger of every single person at the corn festival. That dream scared me. Yeah.
No, what about the parking? Which one was scarier, that one or the car parking?
Oh, definitely the car parking one. I said this already on this podcast, but I had a dream where I was like parking cars over and over again. I would get in a car, I'd drive over, and I'd park it. I'd get out, get in another car, and then just park it. And then I woke up shaking. I was like, I don't want to park any more cars, because that went on for like an hour. And I woke up and I was like, I don't want to park any more cars. So I was like, all right, I'll think about something. I'll think about me, like a really crappy 80s high school movie of me, and we'll see where that goes. And so I was laying down, And, I was just, like, starting out, and I was like, bam, finger guns at people. I was popular. I was having a good time. And then I was like, all right, everybody, I'll see you tomorrow. And I walked out, and I got in my car, drove away, parked it, got out, got in another car, started driving and parked it. And then I got out, got in another car, started driving and parked it. And I woke up, like, 7 times because I was just parking cars over and over again. I could not handle the horror of parking those cars. It was so terrifying.
That could be horrifying, though. I mean, just the stress of trying to park a car.
Yeah, parking a car well, it's hard. Parallel park, man.
I had a dream one time where I was stuck in an old lady's house.
Okay.
She kind of looked like my grandma. Maybe it was supposed to be my grandma, but she had, like, orange hair. Anyway, so she, like, forced me to make apple pies.
Oh my god.
And I made like thousands of apple pies before she said, okay, now give them all to your friends and family.
Ah.
And I was like, I don't have that many friends.
I don't have thousands of friends.
Why do you make me make this many pies? And anyway, so I gave them to my friends and family, and they all died.
Oh my god,
yeah.
Your pies must have
sucked. Been terrible.
Those pies must have been awful.
Yeah.
Alright guys, we're coming up on about more than an hour now, because we started at 9:20, it's 9:27. So we are going to have to wrap up this podcast. Everybody clap, clap, clap for our guest, Cersei. Eddie,
Cersei,
please.
Yeah.
Clap, clap, clap. We will be back maybe next week, and next week it's probably going to be a different episode because we're going to be with some friends from... It's either next week or the week after. They're going to be doing a podcast for a different project in school. And so they're going to be working with us. We're going to do a podcast on maybe abortion again. Who knows? Oh, Cersei can get up on that like she did our last time. This has been Hilarium Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, even though there's nothing on there for some reason. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Toodaloo, my friends. Clap, clap, clap. Everybody clap.